Namaste, viewers. I'm delighted that a very special person, a great scientist, a great Bharatiya, and a dear friend, Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, is here to talk about my new book on artificial intelligence. He's no stranger to my show. Just to let you know, he's a Padma Vibhushan, the father of the Indian supercomputer, and presently he is the chancellor of Nalanda University. Uh, Namaste, Dr. Bhatkarji, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you indeed for calling me for a subject of my deep interest, deep research interest, on which you have written a book.
My book is, as people by now know, it's called Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Power. And the byline is Five Battlegrounds. And I talk about five battlegrounds. I will start a few statements, and I would like to have Dr. Bhatkar's comments and views on these. So, Dr. Bhatkar, while technology is inevitable, and it's not a question of whether you like it or not, because it's going to happen, and we might as well join. We might as well join the revolution. But in the case of AI, the disruptions will be unequal. Some socio-demographics will benefit because they're highly educated. Some will not benefit; they'll lose jobs. Some it depends on education standard also, I guess. Some industries will get a boost, and some industries may not. So, for instance, in the case of driverless cars, and electric cars, there may be new industries born, but the millions of people who work in the old internal combustion engine technology, those small industries will be gone because those industries won't be there. So also some regions will benefit. Maybe Bangalore will get new jobs, but maybe Bihar will lose old jobs. Also across countries, China and USA might become colonizers. They might start taking over Africa. China is taking over Africa. USA is taking over certain countries. So the new technology also empowers a few countries and a few people and a few industries to get advantage over others. So this is going to create social disruption and geopolitical disruption. So Dr. Bhatkar, what do you think of this kind of impact on the world?
First thing I would like to comment is that as you made a profound statement or very inevitable statement, which must be made, that those who are, I think, afraid of technologies or what we talk about, the impact of technologies on the humanities, I think we must say technology is inevitable. Science and technology is development, and their consequent disruptions are inevitable. This process, as far as artificial intelligence is concerned in the 21st century, I think it is not, it is happening in 21st century. The development started way back from Alan Turing himself, who is the inventor of computer. I think development, the thought process that if you are able to model the mind, the computers will be, machines will take over those functions. So now we are seeing those pictures. I remember in the 80s when Japanese decided that they will beat, in a way, Americans. I'm raising in the same breath what you're talking, the battleground. They decided to create fifth generation computers. I think that FGCS program, which began in the 80s, and they started, and that is really the what is the big boost which you received for the FGCS program. They also realized the challenges of creating artificial intelligence systems at that time. But as the computer technology grew and we could build more and more full pack, more and more power into computers. Today we are talking about computers. Today we are even in CDAC here, we are talking about the computers which will create, I think, can perform exascale computing operations per second. Now that was not unimaginable. Computing power has been increasing by a factor of 1,000 per decade, if we really look back. And we are now come to 10 to the power 18 mathematical operations per second. I think that kind of computing power we are able to pack and have this kind of computing power accessible on the cloud. So this is one major development which was limiting the further development of artificial intelligence. The second is, I think, the new algorithms and the big data that is being created, which we never imagined, and based on the big data, new discoveries that are occurring. So all these powers is being harnessed. Now, any power can be harnessed in a very beneficial way for the humanity, or also in a destructive way. We have seen from the origins of computers came from the Second World War itself, Alan Turing. I think we and many technologies, even artificial intelligence came through DARPA and many other things like that. So, and we are now seeing that these impacts are what we have never seen before. I think most important impact that is coming is the loss of, I think, employment. Most of the jobs can be taken over by the machines. Today we are seeing this more and more. And then I'm very happy that I think while we are reading so many advances in artificial intelligence, but you have taken the challenge of what would be the battlegrounds of the future, the nations, how they will perform and how they will be on, as we have seen in the World War. I think we have seen that the previous wars, it has been always the technologies that contributed to win or loss in a war. So we are seeing that kind of thing happening, and you have taken that issue in this book head on, as usual, very head on this kind of thing, and you raise the 5 battlegrounds which are extremely important to see from many perspectives, from technological perspective, from geopolitics perspective, from the humanity perspectives, and what impact it will have. From the Indian perspective, I was one of the first to, 30 years back, I wrote a book on artificial intelligence methods and tools, what are getting available. So I've been watching this and participating in this development for a long time. And we have a major project in the Center for Development of Advanced Computing in CDAC in India, referring to building the very large artificial intelligence machine. And Niti Aayog, our planning body, has created that what impact would be and what is the kind of preparation, what infrastructures are required, what tools are required, what techniques are required, what education is required for this. So I'm very happy that I have not seen a book on this subject in written in the world context, and of course in the context of India, China, America, and other nations, on what impact it will have on the society. So I think it will be very well read as other books, and appreciated, admired, and discussed. And also there will be many critics. They will be arguing from both the sides. So it's interesting. You generate a good discussion for the society, for many people.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatkarji. Yes, for your inspiring words. I wrote this book to stimulate thought from both sides, like always. Yes. It should happen. And as a Bhakt of India, as a great admirer of India and supporter of India, I want to provoke the thought leaders to take up these 5 battlegrounds. So we are catching up right now. We're catching up because USA, China are ahead, but India has the brains, India has the DNA, and we can catch up. So this is the challenge, I think. Like John F. Kennedy in 1961, when the Russians were ahead in the space age, he said that by the end of this decade, I would like Americans to be on the moon. And sure enough, in 69, in the same decade, 8 years later, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. So, we have a situation like that. We have a situation where our brilliant computer scientists like yourself, you're a pioneer, need to take this China challenge. Now, I want to ask you a question. At one time, India was ahead as the software superpower. But now, in the age of AI, we lag behind China. Do you think that we were stuck too much on selling cheap labor programmers to Americans, let them build the intellectual property? We did not build our own intellectual property. We supplied the labor. We did labor arbitrage. So you hire somebody for $10,000, you rent him out at $30,000 to the Americans, and then they use it for making their technology. So, while we're very proud that Microsoft has so many Indians, and Google has Indians, and IBM has more Indians than American people. While we are proud of that, but the point is that they are laborers. They are laborers providing technology brains for other people to build intellectual property. So, do you feel that there was too much jugaad and short-sightedness on the part of Indian industrialists who became very rich selling the Indian brains, but did not reinvest in making products? Did not reinvest in, like Tata's could have made, Tata's or Mahindra or Infosys, they could have taken a certain part of the profit and invested it in futuristic technologies, but they didn't do that. So we lost the race. We were ahead in the race, but we kind of now are catching up to China. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think this criticism is rightly placed in that sense. This is often argued, but if you see the last decade of the last century, and when from 91, we took a leap, and because the opportunity came, that what is called Y2K opportunity, year 2000, the entire software was rewritten, and then we began from almost zero. In that sense, we had made some first computers, but that I think, and then one thing need to be appreciated, that there is something like what you call the goods. Then there is also like services, which is a more larger economy than kind of thing. And we took perhaps this was an opportunity for India to create the software technology parks, to create the people who write this kind of thing, to rewrite the softwares, and create the giants like Tata Consultancy Services or Infosys or many other people, and that took us. But one question also, while doing so, while I was involved in this process, comes center, why are we not developing now new technologies, or why not new products? A new thing, why are you not engaging? And this question I was asking to, this was a time when I proposed the creation of Center for Development of Advanced Computing to create a national center of excellence in this field, and to take it forward in both in terms of supercomputing technology, artificial intelligence, big data analysis, all that thing. But that is too far. But our companies have not invested as much we should have invested on actually creation of new ideas, which we Indians were doing in the US. Also, I think the outfits of the international companies like IBM or like many people were doing through Indian brains, but we were not owning that intellectual property, or we are not taking it forward as seriously as, because research has a long-term issue. I think the results come out later. You have to make heavy investments. You have to make good investments. We require to create great manpower, and that we have not done to the extent what we could have done. But we need to correct that. Yes.
So, for instance, IBM's flagship is Watson, their Watson AI system.
Yes.
Their marketing. And India did not develop a Watson, but Indian brains have helped IBM develop Watson. So this is very interesting. As you said, the Indian brains are being in very large scale, large numbers, high quality in AI, working in the United States, creating made in USA technology rather than make in India technology. And even the make in India artificial intelligence, most of the patents are being held by Microsoft India, Google India. It's the Americans based in India tapping into the Indian brains and building their own technology. For instance, something like GPT-3, which is using natural language processing, computational linguistics to really understand human speech and the meaning of what people are saying, and being able to compose text that looks like a human writer wrote it. This is at the cutting edge in language translation, in social media, having all these bots that look like they're real people, but they're actually AI programs. Now, this is where the cutting edge is, and a lot of economy is going to be based on GPT-3 type of things. But GPT-3 is based on computational linguistics, and much of computational linguistics is based on Sanskrit Panini grammar, Ashdhyai. So I know Indian Sanskritists and computational linguistics in JNU and various other places in IITs for the last 15 years, 20 years. They've been working as consultants for American companies, Chinese companies, Japanese companies, teaching them how Sanskrit grammar in computational linguistics can be used for all of this. And the product of all that is things like Watson, things like GPT-3. But India did not own them. India gave them the knowledge, ancient knowledge, modern knowledge, brains, everything. And we are content just, getting a good wage, good salary. So this is a while the workers can't be blamed, because the workers have to go wherever they get a job. But I think the Indian industry has a responsibility that they did not, they were not as visionary as the Chinese. Chinese were thinking 15, 20 years ahead. And Chinese also were doing wage arbitrage, selling cheap labor in factories to get jobs from American manufacturing. But then they took a lot of the profit, instead of pocketing it and making a few billionaires who are very rich, they took that profit, reinvested into the futurist technologies. Whereas, in our case, we took the profit and the billionaires living a good life, and their share price went up and all of that, we're celebrating them. But they did not do nation building. Our wealthy industrialists did not do nation building, did not reinvest to make products for the future. And I'm glad we are both in agreement on that. Now, recently, India celebrated that Google and Facebook are investing billions of dollars in geo. But in my book, I'm taking the opposite view. I'm saying that Geo should have invested and created their own social media platform, like Jack Ma in China. Jack Ma in China built his own Alibaba, Tencent. Tencent, of course, another company. Baidu is another company. Huawei is another company. There are many Jack Ma's in China. And they did not say, we'll franchise, we'll bring in the American technology and turn over the Chinese market to them. And as a middleman, we'll make billions of dollars. They did not do what Mukesh Ambani is doing. They said, we will build our own platform with our own AI, and we will own the $1 trillion market cap, companies. So there's a difference between the Chinese approach of creating their own made in China technology versus the Indian approach, which says we'll import American technology and we'll spread it out into the marketplace. So do you see that you're a pioneer in the supercomputer? Now that is better than if India had said we'll just buy some supercomputer and apply it. So because when you build your own technology, you build a whole ecosystem, you encourage young brains, you bring so many things happen because you built your own technology. So Geo, in my opinion, and I'd like your comment, but in my opinion, Geo is one of the few companies with enough money. They could have built our own platform. TCS, Tata's could have built our own platform. And then we would be owning all the $1 trillion market cap companies that are now American companies. And we are sort of very obliged that they're coming to our country as if they're doing us a favor. So what do you think of this aspect of India versus China in terms of the ability and the desire to create our own technology versus, which is in China's case, versus in India's case, being very happy licensing American technology and feeling that we are very proud?
Oh, I accept your criticism. I think I remember when in early times, many of us are convinced that we must develop our technology, starting from resistors, capacitors, and starting from ground level. And that would be more useful for us than anything else, and than getting it from Korea. I think we at that time, and also we attempted such things. We opened many factories of that kind, but that requires significant investments in R&D. For example, today our overall R&D investment in terms of GDP is 0.8%, whereas China is investing 2% of their GDP on that kind of thing. There are other nations which are investing. I think we could have, it is not a difficult choice. We went into the space program. We went to atomic energy program, right when independence India had no money to feed its population. We developed IITs at that time. We need to push that ahead. And we need to do a significant investment in research and development and in our universities. I think university requires very strong research programs. And you really brought to the fore the issue of Paninian grammar. I think the greatest creation on India's contribution to not only numbers but also the linguistics. And Panini is often, I think, the great research, even in MIT, etc. Paninian grammar has been used to make breakthroughs in artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And that I think we have program, but not enough, and we need to correct that. And the new education policy or next, and what you could talk about the new education policy that has come forward, that now we are trying to, I think, consolidate this together and fund our university. There is another problem in India which I see is the public investment versus the private investment. Whereas most other countries, in Britain or you say in Europe or in America, I think there is no issue like public or private. It is the merit of the whole thing which the investment is really put together, and new research advances are taking place. So we need to come out of that also, the colonial mentality, and bring all this together on one platform. But this is happening in the new policy that has been announced. We have announced a framework like NRF, like NSF funded will be, and I hope that this will be transforming our landscape in research. And it is realized, but we need to do too much. We need to compare with what China has done. Yes.
Vijay Bhai, in this regard, when I came to United States for postgraduate studies, first in physics and then in computer science, one of the things that impressed me a lot is that my professors had government grants, military grants, Defense Department grants. So I got security clearance to go with my professor to the Pentagon, and we were involved in futuristic projects on all kinds of technology. So in America, the universities get a lot of defense grants, and there is this military academic alliance. I
Right,
don't
right.
see much of that in India, maybe a few small IIT kind of grants here and there, but I don't see a whole lot of collaboration between Indian defense and academics. So the academics are just teaching, and they're not really doing research. And the students are not connected with where the frontiers of research are. Whereas in USA, that is a very big thing. Also, in the US, there is a military-industrial alliance. So all these Boeings and McDonnell Douglas and or even IBM, even Google, even Microsoft, they got large defense contracts. So I was in ITT in charge of strategic planning and new technologies, and we patented the fiber optics. In fact, one of my colleagues in ITT, whose office was adjacent to mine, he got the Nobel Prize. He was one of those who shared the Nobel Prize, a Chinese gentleman, Chinese American. We invented night goggles for the military. We invented speech recognition for the military, for the pilot, the cockpit of the F-16 in those days. They wanted speech recognition. So many pioneering technologies came out of defense. Internet, which was called DARPANET, and then DARPANET became ARPANET. And I was involved. I was a user of Internet before it was called Internet. So that was a Defense Department invention. And then this driverless cars, DARPA created this whole competition to create driverless vehicles. So you can go through so many examples of American pioneering technologies started by the Defense Department. But in India, why are they separate silos? The government and defense are one silo. The industry is separate silo. They don't do much research. The academic people are separate silo. They're just doing the teaching. Why aren't Indians able to create the military industrial academic complex, like China has also done that? China has taken the American model, and they have got one ecosystem of technology. Why is India not doing that?
I think I appreciate that, Ramsing. That has been my own point of view. That why are we not doing it? But I think we came from that mindset of the socialistic economy, and also that somebody is supervising you, and that the investments were very insecure about the private sector. And I think this needs to be corrected, and this comments have been, this feedback has been given to the government, and wherever possible we need to do. But I think we need to come out of this mindset, and a new policy, I think, tries to do it some way. Defense is now more and more collaborating with the industry, trying to collaborate. Though their programs in the academic institutions are only with IITs, it has not reached the private sector as such. And there are some good universities that are coming in the private sector. I think we need to really advance this whole mindset first completely, and take further steps, which is happening, but it must happen in a much larger scale than what we are imagining.
Very good. We're on the same wavelength on so many issues. So Dr. Bhattarji, let's talk about population. India says that this is a youth dividend, but I say that too much population can be a liability, because it's a dividend if you can give them jobs. But if they're unemployed, then it's a liability, because while they have hands and brains to do work, they also have stomach to feed. And so such a large part of India's GDP goes towards providing social services, providing food subsidies, and providing housing and gas for cooking and education and medical and so on. So I see the bottom 500 million people kind of struggling, and India is working very hard to bring them up. But suppose we also started a certain voluntary population control kind of a method to take 50 years. It'll take 50 years to do it gently and reduce the population. Because with AI, you need fewer people. And if you're overpopulated, it's a population liability, not a population dividend. So do you think it's time for the people who are looking at the social impact of AI to point this out? Because my book makes a big issue out of this.
Looking at the civilization studies, I think today, I think if you look at India's greatest strength, one of the great strengths, if you want to look at, is its population. I think we are the most populous country of the world. I think very soon. I'm not saying that, but how to use that population? And we require educated population, very highly trained population. And now I'm seeing that just in front of my eyes, while I was studying, there were very few universities and very few IITs like institutions in India. Today we are close to 1,000 universities. I'm not telling that we need to raise their standards, but it's a big dividend for India. I look at from that perspective, and how to make this population technology enabled, computer enabled. And we have taken the initiatives. I personally have taken the initiative in that direction to making the, I think, most computer literate nation of the world. And that we could do. And we could also create this manpower in a very short time. But I completely agree with you that we need to do larger investment of not only investments in terms of we need to set the cleared milestones like missions, series of missions to be accomplished, like AI mission which you are talking about now, I think, and which we have begun long time back, but we need to make big breakthroughs. There's another thing which is happening. I think you gave the example of there are so many Indians in IBM, there are so many in the US companies everywhere. So I think they are contributing to it. They are also establishing units in India. They are getting the work done here. I think, but there will be long-term impact of that. I see that in the future, as we are promoting the new innovation-based startups, these engineers will come out and they will start the startups. And that process begin late, but it will begin, and that will unleash many innovations in India itself, taking advantage of our great universities and the manpower. So we have to be a little patience on that. But India is building strong foundations on that too, including the chip design. I think though many people criticize that India is not making the hardware. I think, but now the entire chip design, whether it's for Apple or it's for anyone, IBM or any, the designs are done by Indians. And now we are initiating this process that they will design and they will also get manufactured, electronic manufacture done in our Chennai plants or in Pune plant or in Noida. So that process has begun. I'm very hopeful that this will alter the whole landscape in very soon.
Yeah. So Dr. Bhatkar, the reports I've read every report I'm able to get on AI in India, AI globally in general, but also AI in India. There's PwC report, there's FICCI report, there's McKinsey reports, there's Niti Aayog reports, a lot of reports. Now, my feeling is that with few exceptions, most of these reports are from the point of view of the big corporate sector. So the PwC report goes and interviews the public relations people, customer service people in big companies. Some reports go to HR departments of big companies. But what about the panchayat? What about the district level? What about the NGOs who are serving people in the grassroots? Nobody's doing research and reports on impact of AI at their level, their point of view. How will they suffer? What are their needs? How do we scale them up? And my concern is that if there's a vacuum at the bottom 500 million in terms of dealing with the AI, and only the top tier are taken care of, this vacuum will be filled by irresponsible forces. Whether these are Maoists, whether these are Islamists, whether these are Marxists, leftists, whatever, whether these are evangelists, these kind of breaking India forces, because I've written so much about breaking India, I see them coming to this space and filling the gap and providing the voice for the people who are not being heard. And so when there are AI policies being made, and right now, it tends to be top heavy in terms of thinking, and it's not got enough representation of people at the bottom of the pyramid. So I feel, and that is why I'm writing. I'm writing this book in order to shake up people and saying there needs to be a voice. We need to have more social scientists involved. Social scientists don't know AI. I'm surprised the social scientists don't know AI. Dr. Bhatkar, you'll be surprised. I talked to some of the leading economists who are very well known in India, and I said, let's discuss AI, and they said that is not my field. So I said, if AI is not your field, AI is revolutionizing economics. It's like when the Industrial Revolution was happening in England, Industrial Revolution changed the whole world economy. And imagine an economist at that time saying, I'm not interested in Industrial Revolution, I'm an economist. And people have written to me with great pride saying, this is a nice book for some technical people, but I'm an economist, I don't have to deal with it. So there is such a disconnect. And these are senior people. And they are not in tune with how the technology is going to disrupt the grassroots, the foundations of society, and we as leaders of society have to do something about it. So what do you think of this disconnect on the part of many thought leaders in India?
I fully agree with you on that point, particularly coming from the humanities perspective or the philosophy perspective or the arts perspective. I think these disciplines have not embraced artificial intelligence as they should. artificial intelligence is going to have a deep impact on arts
Yeah.
also, humanities, the languages, and many tools which will be there, which the humanities people are not aware of today. And I accept that, and we need to correct that. And what is being done in that process is that we should not define science as physics, chemistry, mathematics, engineering, technology. They must embrace humanities also in their field. They must embrace arts also in that field, and that fundamental change we require in terms of liberal education and liberal research that need to be done. And I completely agree with you that our humanities, including political science, including the planners, we're not aware of what impact this new technology will create. People are talking about that there will not be a place, as you said, on this planet. We discuss new dwellings and in outer space. What I think the great thinkers, but I think we must be aware as far as what is going to be the impact of something is very scary. Something is very promising for creating the future generations. I'm very happy, but the comment on the one initiative that we have taken, that we will convert into a digital India. Now that is a large mass of people converting into digital India and taking it to, I think, spreading it across to our villages, but actually using through mobile. Mobile is yet a turning point. I think it is in the hands of our rural girls. They can use better mobile than even some of the great industries. In terms of usage is concerned, the new apps that are coming to new languages, that we are able to use in all our 22 languages. This thing. So this is a big hope for me, the younger generation, particularly the rural generation, which will come forward and embrace these technologies faster than a society like America.
Very good. So, Dr. Bhatkar, closing thought. What do you think that, just like there is ISRO, big initiative, very good pioneering space, and Bhabha Atomic Research Center for nuclear energy, should there be something of big scale for artificial intelligence and all the related technologies?
Yes.
And I'm talking about not some small think tank and a little bit grant here and there, but I'm talking about the scale of Atomic Energy Commission and the scale of ISRO, that much emphasis.
No, I completely agree and support, and I've been arguing for this. That's how we created a Center for Development of Advanced Computing, for supercomputing, and then artificial intelligence. One of the first projects that we had taken was artificial intelligence at that time, particularly keeping the Indian language perspective, language translations, language perspective, developing digital tools, all that kind of thing. And CDAC today is 10 labs put together, about 3,000 engineers. I think we started from me alone, one. We have now 10 labs across the country, but we need to do much more than that. I think we take a quantum leap and create like I think BRC or ISRO-like structures, and you carry on successive missions, which we are doing, and take this technology forward. Otherwise, this will not happen. And now we have so many people, and we, as China has done, we need to take advantage of the Indians in, I think, in America. Mostly, I think our universities today, the greatest researchers are in the US universities, I think, and then bring back them and collaborative mode, for which we require, I think, what is required transformation in our governance of our research. I think to take the much wider and much open view and much long-term view, and this will happen. This today, the way it's happening, it will happen.
So, Vijay Bhai, it's always a great honor and a delight to talk to you. We could go on talking for hours, and we will. I will need your help in taking the message of this book forward, because this book is also provoking people. It's saying that, hey, we cannot just say everything is fine. We have some challenges. We have China knocking at the door. China is going to arm Pakistan. They have all this AI technology. They are ahead of us. So, rather than saying, okay, are we China or America, those two choices, we should have our own. So we need to create big thinkers like you. We need to empower big thinkers, big institutions, a lot of funding to move this forward. So that is my goal, with which I've written this book. And I'm so blessed that you are supporting. And I want to thank you.
I'm sure this book will raise many questions, particularly to our social scientists or thinkers or economists and political scientists. We need to look at the future from that perspective. We should understand the great impact the AI will have in all sectors, and you are taken 5 battlegrounds to look at them in a holistic, in a complete perspective, which has not been done before. I'm sure this book will inspire the policymakers and people like me to take up larger issues. And I'm sure I think we must need to create tomorrow's, I think, frontier research organizations which will advance the technology for human benefit. For like we are talking about, not only for humanity to advance. I'm not talking one nation to advance, humanity to advance and share whatever the fruits are. Because India alone is in philosophically, historically, from heritage perspective, will like to see the Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. In that kind of thing, we'd like to take it forward.
Thank you very much, Vijay Bhai. This is such a delight. And namaste to you and to my followers or to all the viewers. This has been a great pleasure, a great honor for me. And Dr. Bhatkarji is a treasure, a real treasure, a very iconic figure, very humble person. And his help is so important to me. I cannot be thankful enough to you, Dr. Bhatkarji. Namaste.
Grateful to you for calling. Yes.